This is extremely important information for the Black community. Recently, Trump the Chump brought back McCarthyism to U.S. politics. McCarthyism is a ferocious campaign against alleged communists in the U.S. government and other institutions carried out under Senator Joseph McCarthy between 1950 and 1954. Many of the accused were blacklisted, lost their jobs, or put on trial for murders they did not commit, like Angela Davis. And most of the people this government terrorized did not in fact belong to the Communist Party. But now, instead of targeting communists, they will now be targeting anyone who's not MAGA. It sounds like a bad joke, but it's not. This new executive order, released September 25th, is already making waves across the political spectrum. It's called the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSPM-7. And on the surface, it's about fighting domestic terrorism. But that's just a smokescreen. If you dig deeper, which of course I did, you'll find that it's a minefield of vague language, subjective motivations, and power plays that could reshape how dissent, specifically Black political dissent, is treated in this racist regime called the Trump the Chumps administration. NSPM-7 is framed as a response to what the president calls an epidemic of political violence, from assassinations to riots to attacks on ICE facilities. The order positions this violence as coordinated, strategic, and ideologically driven, particularly by so-called anti-fascist movements. In response, the memorandum empowers the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force to coordinate a sweeping investigation and disruption strategy targeting networks, entities, and organizations accused of supporting or organizing political violence. That includes U.S.-based groups, individuals, and even NGOs, nonprofit organizations, and citizens abroad. Here's where things get complicated. NSPM-7 doesn't just go after acts of violence. It targets ideologies, specifically any movement or organization that critiques what the administration frames as foundational American principles. I am not making this up. And I quote, "Common threads animating this violent conduct include anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, and extremism on migration, race, and gender." Now ask yourself, what does extremism on race and gender mean? Or hostility towards this so-called traditional American values? These are not legal definitions, people. They're cultural dog whistles. And in the hands of federal agencies, those subjective interpretations can have real devastating consequences for all of us. Now, what will this mean for this order's main target? And its main target is, you guessed it, Black organizations. Historically, whenever Black people organize for justice, whether it's the Black Panthers in the 60s or Black Lives Matter in the 2010s, the state has labeled us a threat. COINTELPRO ringing any bells? Under NSPM-7, if a Black organization supports abolitionist policies, criticizes capitalism, or demands radical reform to police and immigration systems, they could be labeled as part of a domestic terrorist network, even if they've never committed or encouraged a single act of violence. It's almost as if they're trying to scare us into submission, into silence. And that would be funny if I wasn't so tired of all these idiot cowards. They're like those guys in high school that always wanted to be popular, but nobody liked them because they were creepy. That's who Stephen Miller is. That's who Trump the Chump is. All of this chaos that they've created is because nobody likes them. This order explicitly names anti-fascist movements as the ideological backbone of modern domestic terrorism. But who gets to define what's anti-fascist? The administration? The DOJ? And what if your group just happens to criticize ICE or protest a courthouse or, God forbid, fundraisers for people arrested during demonstrations? That might now be enough to warrant surveillance, financial investigation, or worse. NSPM-7 doesn't stop at investigation and arrest. It gives the Treasury Department and IRS broad authority to track, audit, and disrupt the funding of so-called domestic terror groups. That includes revoking tax-exempt status, freezing assets, and even prosecuting employees of nonprofits. And this also invokes the 9/11 policies. So they won't even need a warrant to start tapping your phones. Now think about how many small, Black-led nonprofits are already operating under intense scrutiny, struggling for resources. One flag donation, one protest photo on Instagram, and suddenly you're accused of supporting political violence. This kind of financial warfare could decimate grassroots movements that have never been tied to criminal activity. NSPM-7 reads less like a counterterrorism directive and more like a political loyalty test. If you don't agree with the administration's stance on immigration, policing, race, religion, or gender, you may now be viewed as a national security threat. So what happens when the government uses the domestic terrorist label to silence their opposition, to stop protests, to scare people from organizing in their communities? You don't need a conspiracy theory to see where this could go, where this is going. We've already been there. So where does that leave us? First, you must know your rights. We have a Know Your Rights checklist on our website. If approached by law enforcement of any kind, and if you're organizing, fundraising, or educating, stay legal, stay transparent, and document everything. Second, demand oversight. Congress must do their job and step in and ensure that NSPM-7 isn't used to target peaceful dissent. And third, be like me and don't stop speaking out no matter what. This executive order is designed to scare movements into silence. But this isn't a movement. This is a revolution for Black unity and equality. But the only way to protect our civil liberties is to exercise them. So share this video with anyone you think needs the info. I also have a link to the full executive order as well, so you can read it for yourself. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments section. If this video didn't scare you out of getting involved in the BRC's pursuit of peace and equality for all Black people, then be sure to visit our website at blackrevolutionarycollective.com and read our 10-point platform and code of conduct, and join only if you agree with our mission and you want to help out. You can also visit our website to make a donation towards the work we're doing in the community. As always, I love you, Black man. I love you, Black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.
Say it loud.